presidential candidate and Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Welcome back.
Thank you, Kennedy. It's great to talk to you.
All right, so everyone's trying to push, they're trying to put a muzzle on you. It's ridiculous. When Elizabeth Warren got out of the race last week, I was sitting next to Juan Williams, and he said, "That's the last woman. Yeah. The last woman is." And I said, "How could you say that? Tulsi Gabbard is still in the race. What has happened to the Democrat Party?"
It's very clear, and this is the question that Democrats, American voters should be asking the Democratic Party, should be asking their corporate media partners who are literally making their decisions not only now, but since the very first day I announced my candidacy, to try to shut me down, to smear my character, media blackouts, trying to keep the American people from hearing my message, which is very clear. It's been clear from day one, and it is clear today about how we need to bring about a sea change in our foreign policy.
How could the Democrat establishment, unless they're total hypocrites, have a problem with that? So let's say you're a single issue candidate, and that's the only thing you want to talk about. That is so incredibly important, given the geopolitical landscape, and not to mention coronavirus and trying to figure out who our friends and enemies are. And you are a woman. You are a woman of color from an interesting state with a fascinating background. I may not agree with you on everything that you're running on, but I do sure as hell think you should be on that stage Sunday night.
And I'm the first female combat veteran ever to run for president, and the most important responsibility that the president has is to serve as commander-in-chief of our armed forces, to make those decisions related to our nation's foreign policy. You mentioned some of the key reasons why this is so critical and why it's important for voters to be able to hear my message, to hear the voices of my brothers and sisters in uniform, veterans and service members who I've had the privilege of serving with, to the forefront before they make this very important decision about who the Democratic nominee will be.
Yeah.
I am bringing this message about changing our foreign policy away from waging regime change wars, being the world's police, going and toppling dictators in other countries, stopping this new Cold War nuclear arms race, all of these things which are not making us as Americans any safer.
Well, I don't think the Obama administration
dollars here at home
made us any safer, and I know that
it's a long-standing foreign policy.
Yeah, you served, you went overseas, and now Joe Biden is positioned by the establishment as the only guy who can beat Donald Trump. Do you believe that?
No. I'm the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump. This is what I know. I have consistently gotten support from Democrats, Republicans, and independents across the board, really understanding how important it is to put country first, Kennedy. That's really what this is about, and how necessary it is to put the partisan politics aside, come together, and solve problems. This is especially important now as we're dealing with things like the coronavirus.
All right, so let's talk about coronavirus. The president just spoke. You said we have to put this bipartisan, this rather polarization aside and support one another. Do you support the president, what he said tonight?
There are a few things I think that first of all, yes, I agree with him. We've got to set aside any partisanship and really stand together as Americans, as leaders in this country, to put the health and well-being of the American people first. I think it's right. I have supported his call to suspend travel from China, from South Korea, Japan, other countries that have been impacted with outbreaks from the coronavirus, and Italy and other countries. I think it's important to focus on the economic stimulus. I agree with something that you said, actually, as we do this, that we give that direct aid to those small business owners and individuals who need it most, and not just have it go to those who already are very well off. I have concerns about the payroll tax approach that he's taking, because it's not going to help people really who make under $25,000 a year. It's not going to help people who are Uber drivers and who are working in the gig economy and who don't have an employer and are not affected in that way. I think that it would be a more direct approach to take an emergency, put an emergency aid package together to provide a direct payment of a UBI to every single American in this time of crisis, given how broad the impact will be. And the last thing I'll say that I didn't hear him address in his comments was about the testing. We've seen how in countries like South Korea.
And I know they've talked about that. They do have their own testing kit factories in South Korea. They have ramped it up but bureaucracy has kept it from getting into the hands of healthcare providers who need to test potential patients. Tulsi, thank you so much. Please come back when you're in New York.
Thank you, Kennedy. I will.
Excellent.